Well, I was kind of hoping I wasn't going to have to make this video, but I got to make this video. Today we're going to talk about somebody we're all kind of familiar with, right? None other than the Alabama Bass Council president himself, Slick the Wheeler King Johnson. Now see, I'm not a big TikTok kind of guy, so I was unfamiliar with him until I started getting asked questions about some of the topics he was discussing over on TikTok and Instagram. At first, he seems to be really keyed into what's going on behind the scenes, but when you start to peel back the layers, things aren't exactly how it seems. Now, the first real issue I had with him was when it appeared he ganked information that I had procured myself on the whole polygraph examiner that Bass used on the J.T. Tompkins case up in New York. Now, if you'll remember, I wasn't initially going to report on that story. Why? Because yes, the polygraph examiner that Bass used had been indicted on criminal charges, but he had also been acquitted. So reporting on only half the story would be kicking down the door slander. Now, what did Slick do? He reported on it, half the story. And within 2 hours of me telling certain contacts that I was not going to run the story because of that very reason. Now, why do I think that it was my information that was ganked? Well, a couple of reasons. First, because my contacts up at the New York court system said that no one else had asked for the information. And second, there's an old publishing trick that old paper map companies used to use, like AID maps for lake maps or even Rand McNally for atlases. What they'll do is they'll take the name of a street or a cove or a point or a housing development, and they'll rename it to a non-existent name as bait. That way, if anybody repurposes that information, they've
got him! Got him!
Also, it's a way to assure that people do their own damn homework. So after Slick did his video, I did my own, telling the whole story, including what was left out, and then moved on down the road. Most recently, he did 2 videos that I started receiving questions from pro anglers asking, what is he going on about? The first was a video where he claimed that pro anglers were going to unionize. Let's take a look.
Breaking news in the professional fishing world. The professional anglers now have an elite anglers union. That's what it's called. They now have legal representation in the professional fishing world. And you may ask, well, why do they need that? Man, the stuff that the public doesn't hear that goes on in professional fishing, things being swept under the rug and people being bullied and you can't say this, your wife can't say that, it's bad. So now a law firm has come forth and they've been working on this for a while, and now they have formed a union. So any of you professional fishermen, if you're not a part of this elite anglers union, you can hit me up and I'll tell you how to get to be part of it. But that's the new news.
Now, right off the bat, I have a couple of problems with this. Number one, he clearly said news. And number two, a union? No, it's called labor law. See, independent contractors have a hell of a time getting unionized. Don't believe me? Just ask the guys over at Uber and see how that worked out for them. See, there's extra flaming hoops that independent contractors have to go through in order to get unionized. Do bass anglers meet that criteria? I don't think so. Now, are they forming kind of a group in order to have a little bit of negotiating and bargaining power with the powers that be? Yeah, but that's probably going to be my next video. But a union? Doubtful. This next video that he did was about some bass anglers only meeting going to happen in November at some marine place in Alabama. Roll the footage.
So the Bassmaster Elite Series is having an anglers only meeting Sunday, November the 10th.
Now see, I got contacted on this one too. Anything anyone knows about is some loosely planned Zoom call somewhere maybe in the month of November or even early December to talk about that anglers group that they're putting together. As far as an in-person meeting in Alabama on their own dime, something Slick set up, not so much. At this point, I was so tired from getting asked about all the misinformation that I kind of snapped and went off on him on Instagram. He and I went back and forth for a little while before deciding to have a phone call and talk it out man to man. I needed to see what made Slick tick. The first thing we agreed on is that Slick is not a journalist. I think he thinks that works in his favor. Anyway, he says what he does is satire and not to be taken seriously. But when you claim you have the inside track and even say things like breaking news, Then he goes into this shtick everyone else does, of I just don't know a guy. When I call MLF, I talk to Boyd Duckett. And when I call Bass, I call Chase Anderson. Well, let me call bullshit. First, if you were talking to Boyd Duckett, you would be getting this sterilized company line. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's not a shot at Boyd. That's his job. Now, talking to Chase, you've told me that you've done a couple of stories just to mind F him. Why would someone talk to you and spill the tea to you when they know you're just going to go and trash them? And then here on a recent podcast, he let his ego breathe a little bit when he retold the story about how someone had told him that he's a professional angler.
You're a pro. He said, but somebody's a professional if they fish for a living. He said, you wake up every morning and decide where you're going fishing.
In reality, he's a fairly successful business owner. He needs to be proud of that. We also had a fun conversation about some of the professional anglers who had stopped by his place for a visit while out in Alabama, and others who had called him when they needed advice and had ran into tough situations. That's all well and good, and I'm not trying to blow up anybody's spot, but we had that conversation. I'm just going to leave that there. Now, one of his favorite shots he likes to take at other channels is, well, they may know a guy, but they're not in the know. Isn't that him? I mean, he just knows a couple of guys, right? It may have taken me a little while to figure it out, but I might have got it. I think he wants to feel important. You know, the guy that does a pickup tournament with Jay Lee whenever he's through town, or maybe gets seen at the table at the local restaurant with a couple of pros whenever Bassmasters is rolling through. He wants to feel important, and I kind of get that. I would say the dude version of a launch lizard, but no, that's satire. Now, in all transparency, he may have pissed me off on a couple of occasions. First time, during a live stream, he saw one of my comments in the comment section and said, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And the second time was during that back and forth on Instagram. He said I was clout chasing. First, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but my information is good enough for you to use in one of your videos, no matter how you came about it. Remember that, right? And second, if I were to clout chase, it would not smell of cheap aftershave and insecurities. Just saying. Now, folks, I'm not in the business of telling anybody what they should and shouldn't watch. If you enjoy his content, please, by all means, keep watching. Just remember, he told me that it's all satire. So take it with a grain of salt. Don't necessarily jump to the conclusions that it's real behind-the-scene facts. Take like 2 to 5% facts, wrap it up in one of those egg roll shells that you can get for 59 cents at the Circle K, and that's what you got. Eat it up, enjoy it. Now, do you think what I've said is dead on? Or do you think it's satire? Tell me in the comments section below. I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here. Please do me a favor. Comment, like, share, subscribe, even think about becoming a member. And don't forget to hit me up on the Cerebral Tackle News Tips hotline at the email there at the bottom of the screen. I appreciate you guys, and you know what I'm going to say. Until next time we meet, get your butts out on the water and keep it wet.
Yo, it's a real tackle. Let's get to the facts. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I'm spitting the max. You think I'm holding back? Nah, I better step back. I'm dropping lines.